getting low. Feeling good, let's go all the way.
Xin nhiệt
We would like to warmly welcome all the delegates and distinguished guests who attended the Vietnam-Uganda Business Forum today. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, Vietnam and Uganda have officially established diplomatic relations in 1973. Since then, Vietnam and Uganda has become sincere, reliable friends and increasingly important partners. Our two countries not only united and supported each other in the past years of national liberation, but also continue to accompany and cooperate in the development and integration in the current period. This official visit to Vietnam by President Yoweri Museveni, the senior leader of the Republic of Uganda, has marked a milestone in Vietnam-Uganda relation. This visit even more meaningful as the two countries will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations next year. On this occasion, the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, in collaboration with the Uganda Investment Promotion Agency, would like to organize the Vietnam-Uganda Business Forum to further promote trade and investment cooperation between the business communities of the two countries. All of you here would like to introduce the presence of the delegates, distinguished guests, and speakers in our forum today.
Thank you. You are most welcome, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, to this first ever Uganda-Vietnam Investment Conference, Trade Summit. I once again take this opportunity to welcome you to this second part of our summit. Those of you who have been with us from morning at the JW Marriott, we had our morning session, mostly hinged on trying to bring to you what Uganda presents to the Vietnamese business community, and likewise sharing experiences from our friends from Vietnam business sector. This is the second part of the summit for today, the business summit, held here this afternoon at the Vietnam National Convention Center. I take this opportunity to welcome you, honorable ministers already here present with us, senior officials, and then the business community who are the doers. This afternoon session will be mostly an official session. We will expect some few presentations at the beginning of this session. In between, we'll be joined by our guest of honor, who will be none other than the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, accompanied by a very senior official from the Vietnam Socialist Republic government, the Vice Premier. So we'll be expecting them to join us in the middle of our session. But for now, we'll go through the first phase of this afternoon session, and I will welcome my colleague to introduce the participants that are here present to make presentations from the Vietnam side. Welcome.
Về phía Việt Nam, diễn đàn ngày hôm nay của chúng ta sẽ trân trọng được.
On Vietnam, the Vietnamese side, I would like to introduce Mr. Vũ Đức Đam, Deputy Prime Minister, Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Mr. Phạm Tấn Công, Chairman of the Federation of Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Phạm Hoài Linh, Asia Africa Market Department, Ministry of Industry and Trade, and also together with all representatives of leaders of more than 60 Vietnamese enterprises, delegates from ministry and television agency attend. Media news agency attended and report on our forum today.
Co-MC once again. We are now going to kick off our afternoon session with a few presentations and speeches. We'll begin our afternoon session with a speech from the representative of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. This is an umbrella organization that brings together the private enterprises in Uganda. They will be represented by one of their board directors, who is also the managing director of our national housing and construction company, Engineer Kaijuka. Please join hands to welcome Engineer Kaijuka. who is going to make a presentation on behalf of Private Sector Foundation. As Engineer Kaijuka comes forward, I recognize the presence of the Honorable Okello Oriem, our Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, who is already here with us. I recognize the presence of Ambassador of Uganda, based in Malaysia, but also taking over Vietnam, Ambassador Betty Bigombe. I recognize Ambassador Pachonega, who is the head of International Economic Department of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I recognize several heads of our agencies that are already here with us. You are most welcome to this first ever Uganda-Vietnam Business Summit. Welcome, Engineer Kaijuka.
Thank you so much, the Masters of Ceremony. As introduced, Engineer Kaijuka Kenneth is my name. I'm privileged to stand before you this afternoon in the shoes of the chairperson of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, who is none other than Dr. Erika Ruhanga. I also represent the entire board of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, where I serve as a director in charge of construction and real estate. I also, before you join the board, you must represent a private sector, and so I do that from the real estate and construction. The real estate and construction entails the entire framework of construction. Real estate, we are talking of the commercial real estate, we're talking of the institutional real estate, we're talking of the residential real estate, we're talking of the industrial real estate. So if you want to establish warehousing, if you want to build factories, this is part of the industrial real estate. If you want to come and partner in the development of infrastructure that will serve schools, will serve hospitals, will serve barracks, this is part of the institutional real estate. If you want to come into the commercial infrastructure, be it conference centers like this, they be office blocks, then you're welcome to do that through my sector. But also if you want indeed to come into the housing real estate, then there's great opportunity for you to come and build estates, build accommodation for the many Ugandans that are being born with a deficit of permanent homes of over 7 million housing units. And when we speak about that volume of housing need, we're also talking of the entire supply and value chain. And as you know, in the construction and real estate, the supply is the longest, from floor tiles to blocks to cement to logs to electrical and electromechanical installations, fittings, name it. So that is the sector I come from, and if your interest is right in that area, I would be more than happy to engage with you. One, as national housing, where we will house you. Maybe for the first year, we give you office space where you can operate as you try to set up yourself. That said, I mentioned I come on behalf of the private sector of Uganda. Now, the Private Sector Foundation, if you look at the logo right on the screen, where it is PSFU, you'll see the white patch, which is the map of Uganda, and you'll see around it the globe, which means that we impact trade and operate with the entire world as private sector. We are the umbrella organization. We are the apex body that brings together the entire private sector players. Now, as government of Uganda creates an enabling environment, they have set apart the business environment to be led by the private sector. And so I lead a group of many Ugandans, businessmen, investors, name them. And I want to ask that those of you who are from the Private Sector Foundation or from the Private Sector Uganda, if you are here, please kindly stand up for recognition. Yes, members from all private sector sectors, you're welcome. and I want to thank you. I want to mention that as part of the private sector, like I mentioned, we embody the entire business environment. Construction and real estate, I've highlighted about it. Agriculture and agro-processing, that has been discussed in earlier sessions. Those of you who are interested in the value chain, supply and value chains for agriculture and agro-processing. Those who are interested in transport and logistics, transience of goods, whether by road or by air, looking at the global interconnectivity, you're welcome in that space. Tourism. Tourism is the biggest for Uganda. If nobody came to do anything, you should at least come either to tour or to invest in tourism. Greater opportunities in establishing hotels for tourism, especially in our prime locations where executive tourism takes place. If you are to go to the mountains of the moon, where we have no snow capping on the hills, if you are to go to where we watch mountain gorillas, if you are to go where we find climbing lions, if you are to go on the many islands of the freshwater body lake, Lake Victoria, which is the global, freshwater lake, if you're going to go into the fishing and the fishing industry on those sweet waters, and you find the best fish in the world, the tilapia fish, there's great opportunity in that sector. And so we believe that tourism is such a vehicle that can drive opportunities between Uganda and Vietnam. We have culture and performing arts under Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Those of you who are in the entertainment, who are looking at culture and interests and how the two countries, Uganda and Vietnam, may collaborate, you're welcome in that sector. We have the professional sector. Those of you who are highly qualified in the various fields of business, of education, of health, you're all welcome to come and play a role in this field through the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. We have the services, I've mentioned hotels and others. We also have the SMEs, the small, medium, and large enterprises in our country. So we appreciate when you come to Private Sector Foundation Uganda, then whichever sum of money you have, if you are a $1 million investor, if you're $5 million, if you're 20 million or 100 and above, you're welcome and we'll be able to find space for you in that respect. ICT, technology, and telecommunication is another sector. And this is big. We want to invite you because once you're in Uganda, you're connecting the globe to the business and especially for the opportunities in our country. Trade and investment, among others. So this Private Sector Foundation Uganda brings together the entire business framework. I want to close by appreciating His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda and His Excellency the President of the Republic of Vietnam and the two governments for opening the gates, the business gates. We've had, this is the first business summit that is happening. And as business community, Madam Honorable Minister of Trade, my business community is extremely excited and they are happy that this gate has been opened. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, opening this gate for Ugandan business community to come this far and find opportunities. A country that has almost similar history as Uganda, we are extremely excited. We pray that the consulate will be functional. From morning when we are discussing our business partners, they are asking, how do we contact you? Remember the questions, when can we immediately come? And even as we sit with them, they are more than eager to come to Uganda. We pray that that office will be very functional immediately, and I want to invite you to collaborate with us as Private Sector Foundation Uganda, but more so, those of you in real estate and construction, 3 months. Yes, put your hands together to appreciate the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I said within 3 months, that is December, January, so February, we should have a consulate that can coordinate your visit to Uganda. I want to invite the business community in Vietnam for two things: trade, where you can export to Uganda, but you can also import from Uganda. I want to invite you to do that because the business environment is good. I also want to invite you to invest in our country. We mentioned that the investment opportunities are many, but also the environment, the regulatory, the tax, and other regimes are all friendly, and you'll be supported in establishing. But most importantly, we mentioned if you can come through joint ventures and partnership, then you can have a quick entry into the business and market environment. I want to conclude by mentioning that the business opportunity is huge, informed by the numbers. Our population, which is growing to date from 45 million Ugandans, 2022, to about 100 million Ugandans by 2050. That's a huge business opportunity, but also the East African market as well as the entire African market. So I want to thank you. I want to invite you. Come and collaborate with us. We've shared business cards so that we can deliver business value to Uganda and Vietnam for God and my country.
Xin trân trọng cảm ơn ông. Tiếp theo đây.
Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Phạm Hoài Linh, representative of the Department of Asia and Africa, Ministry of Industry and Trade of Vietnam, to give a speech to the forum. I cordially invite you.
So, dear Mrs. Harel Tabazi, dear Mr.
Excellencies,
dear Mr. Phạm Tấn Công, the chairman of Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, dear delegates and distinguished guests, on behalf of Vietnamese Ministry of Industry and Trade, I'd like to warmly welcome the distinguished guests, Vietnamese and Ugandan businesses, to attend Vietnam-Uganda Business Forum today. I'd like to say thanks to the organizers to give me the opportunity to attend and deliver a speech at the forum today. Dear delegates, after more than 30 years of implementing the economic reforms, Vietnam has been actively integrating deeply into the world economy. Joining the global economic community and signing new generation free trade agreements has created a favorable legal framework for the development of economic and trade relations between Vietnam and other countries. Currently, Vietnam has established trade relations with more than 200 countries and territories. Vietnam also acts as a responsible member of many international organizations, for example, APEC, ASEAN, etc. Nowadays, Vietnam has become an important bridge. We connect the economy in the world. So, Vietnam has got 3 new generation free trade agreements, such as a free trade agreement with the EU, CPTPP, and this has opened up many opportunities to let Vietnam contact with many potential markets in the world. This is an important basis to help Vietnam enterprise to approach the high-quality market. Therefore, when it comes to Vietnam, it is no longer just about the population of about 90 million people, but it is about the opportunity to access a large global market. In addition to the great achievements in socio-economic development, in recent years, the investment and business environment in Vietnam has been continuously improved. It facilitates all the businesses to have long-term and stable businesses, and we do not differentiate between different sectors in the economy. The Vietnam Vietnamese government is also determined to accelerate the reform of the economy to create the favorable environment for many new businesses in the world. So regarding import and export activities, in 2021, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the total import-export turnover has reached more than 600 billion USD, which increased by 20% compared to 2020. And the export turnover has reached more than 300 billion USD, which increased more than 19%. And we have 35 items with the export turnovers of over 1 billion USD, of which 8 products has exported over 10 billion USD. So as we know, COVID-19 has affected negatively not only Vietnam but also many countries in the world. But until now, the situation is much better, and the businesses has been back to normal. According to the data of the General Statistics Office of Vietnam, the first 9 months of 2020 has recorded the gross GDP increase by 8.83%, which is much higher than the rate of 2021. It is forecasted that in 2022, Vietnam's GDP will increase much higher, along with the recovery of the economic situation. So businesses registration in the first 10 months of 2021 has increased significantly compared to the same period of 2021. In the first 10 years, the total export and turnover of Vietnam has estimated to be more than 600 billion USD compared to 2021. Together with import and export turnover, foreign investment in Vietnam in the first 10 months in 2022 is estimated about 17 billion USD, which is a remarkable number. So this is the highest amount of FDI recorded in the first 10 months of the past 5 years. So the aforementioned results has confirmed that the strong recovery of the economy of Vietnam after the COVID-19 pandemic, and it won't continue to be to stable and increase significantly in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Vietnam and Uganda has established diplomatic relations very early, which is to 1973. Over the years, the friendship and cooperation between Vietnam and Uganda has always been shared and supporting each other on multilateral forum. Vietnam has always considered Uganda as one of the most important partners. However, regarding the investment and trade, the two sides have not established the bilateral cooperation mechanism, and we haven't signed cooperation agreements in the field of industry and trades. So as we can see that the cooperation in terms of economy between Vietnam and Uganda regarding trade and investment is still very limited. So I think the reasons might be the geographical distance and also the lack of market information So the trade promotion activities and the trade connection between Vietnam and Uganda are still very limited. And the two sides, Vietnam and Uganda, haven't exchanged business delegations. So the exchange of the delegations are still very limited in Vietnam and Uganda. So as recorded, the delegation of Uganda has come to Vietnam. The last time, it is 7 years ago, which is very difficult to promote the cooperation between the two countries. Currently, the trade exchange between the two countries is still quite modest, which is only $13 billion compared to the last period. And the Vietnam export to Uganda has reached 6.3 million, which is very low compared to the import turnover of Uganda from other countries in the world. This is a very modest number, so we expect that in the nearest future, we will need to restart our cooperation and prioritize Vietnam and Uganda business. In terms of trade and investment from the government to the businesses. In terms of commodity structure, the two economies do not compete directly, but we can support each other. However, the structure of good exchange between Vietnam and Uganda is really monotonous and is still limited. Vietnam's export to Uganda are mainly iron, steel products, textiles, machinery, etc. While Vietnam's import from Uganda are mainly wood, timber, and coffee. So as you can see, the goods that export and import from Uganda and Vietnam are still very monotonous. So regarding cooperation and investment between Vietnam and Uganda, it is still very limited. There is not any cooperation activity. But we think that these are the fields that have a great potential for Vietnam and Uganda. Uganda may be very strong in oil, gases, minerals, iron, basic metals, while Vietnam is focusing on foundation industry. So we have great demand for petroleum, petrochemical, metal products, minerals. Hence, we can support each other and develop together. As you all know, Uganda is a country with great potential for economic development. Vietnam and Uganda share the similarity of developing the foundation industry. Uganda has a population of nearly 50 million people, rich resources in oil and natural gases. And Uganda is such a developed industry compared to other countries in the region. Meanwhile, Vietnam has now become one of the 20 economies with the largest commercial scale in the world. Many industries of Vietnam have a great production capacity and export value, such as electronics, computers, phones and components, wood and footwear, textile and other machinery, equipments, and agriculture products such as rice, coffee, cashew nuts, vegetables and fruits. Vietnam is fully capable of supplying Uganda with the goods that Uganda needs to import. Along with that, Vietnam also needs to import from Uganda some of the goods such as oil, minerals, iron, base metals, wood and wood products. to serve the industrial production and domestic industry. A strength of Vietnam is in agriculture and processing agriculture, while Uganda has a great demand for these type of products. So I hope that in the nearest future, Uganda will consider coordinating with Vietnam to build a more favorable and cooperative mechanism to promote export agricultural products from Vietnam. We also hope that all the products from Vietnam can be exported to Uganda and appear in Uganda markets and supermarkets. We will provide all the goods with high quality and reasonable price for Uganda. Hence, our Ministry of Industry and Trade suggests that we will join hands together to promote the investment cooperation between Vietnam and Uganda. On one hand, Vietnam will try to ensure food security for Uganda, and we also hope that Uganda will try to ensure energy security for Vietnam. So these are just two areas, two fields that Vietnam and Uganda can cooperate. So I think from that we can open greater opportunities between Vietnam and Uganda businesses. I think that we, Vietnam and Uganda governments and businesses, need to make further efforts to bring the trade and investment cooperation to deserve to the potential and the good friendship and cooperation between Vietnam and Uganda. So before signing any contract, I think the two sides need to strengthen the information exchange delegations at all levels, promote the contact channels to know the demand for trade and investment cooperation, the demand for trade exchange of industry of the two sides, Vietnam and Uganda. I also suggest that all the organizations to create the conditions for businesses of the two countries to seek opportunities to expand investment and businesses in each country. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Vietnam highly appreciate the initiatives of the Chamber of Commerce and the Industry of Vietnam, VCCI, to co-hosting this event. We all know that the businesses of Vietnam and Uganda are seeking the opportunities to cooperate in the nearest future. This is such a meaningful activity to connect the businesses of Vietnam and Uganda. For such a long time, we are unable to travel and meet due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Vietnam and Uganda are the two countries which are in the process of building and developing the country. So I hope that through this forum, we will share and then figure out a more creative, more effective solutions to further promote bilateral economic and trade cooperation in the upcoming time. We hope that the relevant agencies of the two countries, Vietnam and Uganda, will cooperate and actively work together to promote the cooperation between two countries. Before finish, I'd like to wish all the delegates health and happiness. Wish our forum today success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hoi Lin, I pronounce it very well now. Dear participants, as we wait for our guests of honor for this function, our chief guest today, we are continuing with our speeches, our presentations. I now have the honor to invite the Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, who is the Minister of State for Trade in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives of the Republic of Uganda. Honorable Ntabazi has been at the center of organizing this forum, and I think she's part of the victory team. You're welcome, Honorable Ntabazi.
Thank you so much, Master of Ceremonies and the coordinator of this forum. My colleague, Minister for Foreign Affairs, who is here with me, and my colleague from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperative of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, and the team that you came with. Our ambassadors present and the heads of missions who are here, the team from Equity Bank, who are our funders and who have helped us to organize this wonderful and historical event, our colleagues from government of the Republic of Uganda, agencies who are here, and the agencies from the Republic of Vietnam who are here, teams from the Uganda National Chambers of Commerce and Private Sector Foundation, and the Vietnam National Chambers of Commerce and Industry, our business communities, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you and thank you so very much for coming in this big number. And I want to thank you for having attended this historical event, the first of its kind, the first in the history of Uganda and Vietnam, that we are now coming together to move together the same direction in terms of development. Ladies and gentlemen, our relationship with Vietnam has moved smoothly in many areas. Now that we are speaking trade and investment, we are going to move to further heights. And I know very well we shall succeed because together we can make it. I want to call upon you to look at the theme. The main issue why we are here today, before I address myself to the heads of states, is to make sure that we unlock opportunities in investment and trade for both countries. Because you heard from my colleague who said that for sure, trade and investment, among others, has been very, very low. And that's the very reason we are here today, to come and unlock, remove the blocks, the barriers, and build bridges. Make sure that we jump to another level, all of us together. Because of COVID-19, Vietnam and Uganda went through the same situation. And because of wars, Vietnam and Uganda shared the same suffering. But this is not time for lamentation. This is our time to move, because the wars are not there now. In Uganda, from border to border, you will not hear any war. In fact, if there is any country, any peaceful country in Africa, call to Uganda. And that's the reason it is the pearl of Africa. And I'm happy to belong there. And now this is the information we are bringing to you. Take your money to the pearl of Africa and you'll never regret. The reason we are coming to you, the level at which the growth is moving and development is moving at the speed of growth and development in Vietnam is very, very high, and in a shortest time. For us, as we are going slow, because our major involvement is in agriculture, production. Now, Vietnam has gone ahead into production and value addition and processing. Now, for us, we still, we produce and export unprocessed, majorly unprocessed products. But Vietnam has gone to another level of producing, processing, and packaging, labeling, and branding. Now, we've suffered a lot in terms of getting the best quality of products, but being branded under other people's names, other countries' names, who have the processing, who have the branding, who have better packaging, yet the raw material comes from Uganda. So the reason we are here today is to come to you, give us that technology, and we bring to you what we have. We share the trade, and you share with us the technologies at home. We start producing and importing processed and finished goods. So we know very well, yesterday, our heads of states started meeting, and they went through a lot. Agreements have been signed. Agricultural mechanization, ICT, all these agreements have been signed to make ease of doing business. And I think with the engagements that they are still having, Uganda and Vietnam are going to move very fast. And I know by the time we come back here, within 5 years, we shall be talking one language. I'm optimistic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very true that the cooperation in trade, more especially the memorandums of understanding in cooperation in trade and investment and industry, has not yet been signed. We have another cooperation in terms of rice trade from Vietnam to Uganda, not yet signed. But all the paperwork has been mobilized, put together, and it is in the hands of the Minister of Trade of Vietnam. They are still going through the nitty-gritties and a little things clearing here and there, reading through and pre-reading, and we shall sign these agreements and trade will flow. And my colleague, I want to assure you, colleagues from Vietnam, in the just concluded business engagement this morning, already deals have been signed. Deals have started, engagements have started. These business people you see here have already gotten contacts, they have exchanged. Now talks have begun, because what was giving us space is, first of all, the distance. We thought it was very far to come to Vietnam. But I want to tell you that we are now moving up to China. So if we can go to China, why not Vietnam? And with China, we've moved very far. We want to move very further with Vietnam, and we all move to the same direction. Uganda is, when you look at Uganda, the composition of our GDP in the financial year 2021-2022, the sector, the service sector, moved from, grew by 41.94%, and this one contributed more to our development because it was really huge. And the industry sector alone grew by 27.9%, which was a little good, but we want to move it higher with the collaboration of Vietnam. The agriculture and forestry sector and fisheries has moved to up to 23.8%. And among the things that we trade with Vietnam includes fish. Fish comes from Uganda to Vietnam. We have coffee, which my colleague has talked about, but textile, we were looking at, Vietnam I think was looking majorly on old clothes, old clothes, second-hand clothes. But I want to tell you that Vietnam has first-class textile, first class, and not second-hand, first class. This is what we want in Uganda. We want to trade with you in many things, including textile, because most of the textile we get is from outside. Though we have industries like Nightil and the fine spinners, which engage into textile, but sometimes the raw material which we have remains, and it is imported in its raw form. So we want companies which will come from Vietnam to go and tap into the cotton, because we are a cotton growing country. Yes, organic cotton, organic cotton. So we need this value addition. We need it very seriously, so that we can produce first cotton clothes, and we also import finished goods, and not only the raw materials. Now, prior to COVID-19, Uganda's economy grew by over 6.0% annually. And in 2020 to 2021, the economic growth was 3.3%, and this one was really a steady economic recovery from the 3.0% in 2019-2020. So we've been moving slowly, but when we talk about this collaboration and tying, we shall move at a very high speed. And I know we have started the journey today, we shall move together, and there is where we are going that we shall reach together. The Uganda economy generally grew at 4.6% during the financial year 2020-2022, faster than had been anticipated due to the unpicking activities after the reopening in January 2022. Now, the rate of economic growth could rise over 6% in the medium term, despite sustainable commodity prices driven by inflation and other factors. The wars, our neighbors in Ukraine and Russia and all those. But of course, those ones are temporary. Those ones are temporary. We know all the wars will end, like COVID ended, and we shall go back to the line which we are pursuing. And of course, we are trying to our level best to consolidate the fiscal conditions, which we know that by time, with better policies put in place, Vietnam policies and Ugandan policies, because most of us with my colleagues are policymakers. And the policies that we are targeting are those ones that will move trade from one level to another level, and which are conditioned to create an opportunity for ease of doing trade, for ease of doing business, not policies which will bar trade at one point or the other. And I know that with the negotiations that we are going to have, you will provide what you want, and we provide what we want, so that now we can balance and start flowing easily. Now, the imports from Vietnam are largely dominated, of course, by fertilizers, plastics, and the textile, as I mentioned, warm clothes, machinery, mechanical appliances, electrical machinery, sugars, sugar confectionaries, while exports are mainly coffee, tea, meat and spices, edible vegetables, fish, oil seeds, meat. By the way, meat, we have the best meat in Africa comes from Uganda. Organic, the best meat comes from leave alone these other meat you eat. If you want the best meat, tested and certified to the standard, tax-free, cholesterol-free, fat-free, come to Uganda. That's the best place. The best milk, the milk that people have been collecting, bringing together, packaging and repackaging, come from Uganda. This is our milk from our local cattle, which you are going to test. And when you find it tinned, it is the best milk to test. And I want to assure you, if you engaged into trade of our milk, into value addition of our milk, value addition on our beef. I found beef in Dubai and I wondered, within 1 minute, 1 second, the beef is ready. You see, beef is supposed to have, some level, balancing. It's not like something you just pick from the animal and eat. No, it is beef, it is meat. Supposed to arrive in its freshness. So the challenges that we have as Uganda are in terms of course, my colleagues mentioned the challenges in the business forum. The storage, the cold facilities that would move our milk from one country to another in its freshness, those cold transport systems are the ones that we are still struggling with, and we are calling upon you to invest our monies into cold facilities, into silos, into even warehouses and collection centers, though we have, but they are not enough. So we need your support in terms of post-harvest handling, the milk transportation, beef transportation in its freshness. We have the best fruits on the globe. The best pineapple, by the way, I tasted the pineapple here. I was like, oh my God, I wish these people could come to Uganda and get a real pineapple. This is a photocopy of a pineapple which I sold. The pineapples that you've been dreaming about are in Uganda. The watermelons that you've dreamt about are in Uganda. The oranges, the green orange, which brings a yellow juice. It's green on top, but yellow inside, will ever be found in Uganda. The vegetables, the sweetest vegetables, I saw the menu, I've been eating, but you lack vegetables, green, in different shapes. We have all of them. We can bring them in their shapes, in their freshness, and you enjoy the beauty of Africa. The reason they call Uganda the Pearl of Africa is not, in fact, it's not by mistake. We have things that have made us be the Pearl of Africa, have shaped us, and have made us what we are. We have no winter, we have no summer. Uganda is always fresh, is always flowing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we receive my colleagues, ministers who are coming in, and I want to request you to give them a hand of applause as they arrive. The Minister for ICT is arriving, the Minister for Finance, the Honorable Matia Kasaija, and the Honorable Council, accompanied by the Honorable Council. So you found me really telling the congregation that Uganda is endowed. Uganda is endowed. It is gifted. Though we are landlocked, we are not only landlocked, we are land-linked. We live in the middle of South Sudan, Kenya on this side, Tanzania down, Rwanda the other side, and the Democratic Republic of Congo on the other side. So we live in the middle. And all this make up the East African community, of which we are trying to shape. Our president has been the champion of the East African community. And I want to tell you that time will come, you are going to realize that our markets are no longer going to be negotiated as Uganda, but negotiated as East Africa. We have around 300 million people in East Africa, all targeting to buy the products of the Republic to buy the products of the Republic of Uganda. We are part of the COMESA, then the SADC, and now the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is all the song everywhere. So we have all these people have open markets, duty-free, quota-free. We have free access to European Union, which is our market, duty-free, quota-free, everything save the arms. Everything can be taken there. We have the US market, which is under the African Growth Opportunity, AGOA. This one takes everything and save the arms. So we have the markets, we need the products, value added. You cannot carry a sack of cocoa to the US market, but you can carry at least the cocoa mass, or at least the powder, at least the liquor, something that is a little processed. We can carry it to the finished product. You can carry the chocolates. So I call upon you, Vietnamese, in all your plans, in all your plannings, put Uganda together. And I want to assure you, this is the first engagement. The presidents have opened the doors, and they have told us, the ministers of trade, industry and cooperatives, and then investment, to engage further, so that now we visit ourselves without the presidents. We can come in, go out at different levels. And I want to tell you that for us, we are continuing with engagements. The rest of the people will go. For us, we shall remain here. I will end up remaining here for almost 2 weeks. I will be here looking for market for my products and looking for investors. I must cooperate and get them. And the ministers have already shared contacts, and we are ready to go. And the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development of Uganda is ready to give you the investment permits as you come. They are ready to give you the incentives as you come. You are ready to give you land, including land, free land in Uganda for your investments. So we are really, really doing very, very well. This is the chance for us to explore the opportunities in Uganda. I want to end by calling upon you all. We have implemented trade facility measures such as the digitalization of the international trade processes through the electronic single window. And this one has really reviewed our policies to the standards. We've improved on the quality, standardization, and now we have developed one standard for East Africa, such that when a product is produced in Kenya, it will not be subjected again to verification in Uganda. It is one standard. Sudan, Uganda, and all the 7 East African countries. So this is all tested, and I know Vietnam will pick on it. We have implemented authorized the economic operators to allow fast self-clearance, and this is in terms of taxes and everything, all put together. We've we have done implementation of one-stop border post. The posts that will have all the facilities in one place, including clearance, including verification, and all at the border post. So we have around 7-8 borders, which give us a total of all these border posts. We still have others which are unconstructed, but we are yet to construct them. But I want to assure you that Uganda, with Vietnam, will move to another level. Finally, we have gotten because of COVID-19, we learned other methods of doing business. E-commerce. I was the vice chair of WTO, the World Trade Organization. I was the vice chairperson. And we encouraged, among the 6 pillars that we picked, was e-commerce. And e-commerce worldwide, even if you don't come to my shop, I'll trade with you. Even if I don't come to Vietnam, you trade with me. We need to collaborate. We need to advance from analog to digital methods of doing business. And I know the business communities have picked this, and we are going to advance together. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of improvements that you're going to find when you come to Uganda. Electricity, we have the best electricity, and we even import it to other countries. We have water. Uganda is in fact, is endowed with natural resources. We have roads already made. ICT is now improving. So we are ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this must be the time. If not today, then we shall never move. For God and my country.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our Honorable Minister of State for Trade. Indeed, he has marketed the products and Uganda in general, and for that matter, he's staying for another 2 weeks in the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. We will support you, Honorable. I now wish to recognize amidst us the presence of our senior government officials. We have the Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, the Honorable Matia Kaseija. He's here to support this cause of promoting Uganda-Vietnam investment and trade. We have the Honorable Chris Baryomunsi, who is our Minister for ICT and National Guidance. As you have heard now, business is online, so he's the gentleman responsible for coordinating our business. Amidst us, we have the Chairman, CEO, Equity Group Holdings, Dr. James Mwangi. Dr. James Mwangi, I now wish to take the honor to welcome you to make your speech. Dr. Mwangi has been part of the sponsors of this forum, and we want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers of our two great nations, Excellencies, Ambassadors, my colleague delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to have this opportunity and want to sincerely thank the government of Uganda for giving business an opportunity to partner on this very significant visit to Vietnam. A lot has been said, and Minister of Trade, you have passionately put the agenda on the table. But let me try and put some perspective from a business point of view. Vietnam and Uganda share a heritage, and a heritage allows people to understand each other. We were together at the same time in the liberation struggle. Since then, we have jointly been, like any developing country, struggling to develop our countries. And the coming together of these two countries and the business community is a huge opportunity to strengthen these perspective. But let's flash back in 1990. Two economies in East Africa were bigger than Vietnam. Today, Vietnam is 4 times East African largest economy, Kenya. And Vietnam, in terms of GDP, is larger than the entire East African community. Together, I like the Minister for Foreign Affairs, emphasis, together, all of us together. Yet, as we heard from the representative of the business community in Vietnam, they don't have the resources we have. What they have is the boldness and the courage to propel themselves forward. And basically then what it means is we from East Africa, and specifically from Uganda, can take lessons, and this partnership can be very progressive in the sense that Vietnam has learned the lessons. So we can pick what they have done, do it faster, more efficiently, and avoid all the mistakes they made, and quickly transform our region. Now, timing. Let's look at timing. The timing of this visit is very, very unique. 2022, 2023 is another moment like 1945. 1945 was the end of the Second World War. 2022 is the end of war with COVID-19. And occasionally, when there is a global war, whichever nature it is, it transforms and resets the world. The world today has realized a bit of pitfalls, and that has really been emphasized by Russia and Ukraine, that we can no longer depend on the concept of competitive advantage. We know we had challenges that we couldn't, the global supply chains were broken. We in Uganda and East Africa generally, because Uganda represents the East African community in this room because it's a common market, need local and regional supply chains. Vietnam has gone ahead and established their own local and regional supply chains in the ASEAN market or region also. So essentially, collaboration will be very easy. As the world looks for solutions, Uganda can provide a couple of solutions, and that is where Vietnam comes in and can help us. The first one, the biggest struggle the world is going through today, and Vietnam emphasized, is the issue of energy. And Uganda has oil and gas. I want to extend an invitation to Vietnam to help us exploit our Ugandan oil and our Ugandan gas so as to contribute to this resolution. Gas in Europe has gone up by 156% in the last 1 year. The market can support Uganda in production of its oil and gas because the prices are just right. Vietnam is in dire need of energy sources. Uganda can be the source, and Vietnam can help Uganda exploit that resource. The second challenge the world needs to resolve is food security. The crisis in Russia and Ukraine has exposed how dependent the world was on cereals and grains from the two countries. Nearly 30% of most of the food came from that market, and the market now cannot supply. And the question is, Uganda is very well positioned to fill the vacuum, the void that has been left by food supply chain. Vietnam has distinguished itself in the area of agro-processing, and it can help Uganda. As Uganda grows and increases its productivity, Uganda needs to enhance value by agro-processing, and that's where Vietnam can come in and truly, truly help make it big for Uganda. So a huge opportunity. The third need is to diversify edible oil. At the moment, 90% of the world edible oil comes from this region, Malaysia and Indonesia. Uganda is the next best positioned country because of the waterlands. And more importantly, its land-linked neighbors, particularly the equatorial region in DRC, can be a major producer, and processing can happen in Uganda. South Sudan along the Nile Basin can be a major producer of palm oil, and Uganda becomes the processor. We can team together and really solve the third global challenge. The fourth contribution Uganda can make in a very big way is in terms of market for Vietnamese manufactured goods. Uganda can be the entry point for Vietnamese companies that are value-adding to attack the African market. As we speak, Africa has 1.3 billion people. That is a huge market for Vietnamese 50 million people. So essentially, the multiple in terms of size of market. Uganda is a member of the East African community. So when you look Uganda, Vietnamese, as a market, please don't look at it as Uganda. Look at it as the entry point to the East African community, a 300 million market, because it's a common market. So we see perspective of what Uganda can bring on the table, so the agro-processing. Going back again a little bit to agriculture, beyond palm oil, Uganda can partner with Vietnam, particularly in value addition and branding of coffee and tea. And Uganda can leap very, very big if we use the global access Vietnam has in the markets on coffee and tea significantly. And of course, as the minister has emphasized, we can add the milk, and we can add the beans, and we can add bananas, particularly in value addition, because that is the competence Vietnam has acquired over the last 20 years, and that is what has transformed Vietnam. So we can use the lessons, use the partnerships. The good thing, the agreements have been signed. And with the agreement signed, then it becomes easier for business to collaborate. But let's talk about once the products are produced in Uganda. We can see Vietnam as a member of Southeast Asia and see another 400 million people. So together the two countries participate and can bring together 700 million people market or consumer market. And that is where the secret is, because we can play pivotal role to each other in attacking those markets, capturing those two markets, and adapting ourselves to those two markets, while at the same time exploiting the opportunity the world has of trying to solve the problems that we have solutions for. Vietnam seems to be hungry for metals. It seems to be very hungry for natural resources. Uganda neighbors DRC and neighbors South Sudan, two countries that are heavily endowed with natural resources. Uganda can be the hub for supporting the entire region to exploit these through investment, joint investments between Ugandans and Vietnamese to be able to attack and to capture the ASEAN market that Vietnam is the middle of and the East African community market, which Uganda is at the center of it. I want to re-emphasize that the oil opportunity in Uganda, whether it is building the pipeline, the $3.5 billion pipeline, whether it is at extracting, drilling, and being part of the financing of the oil exploitation, that's a huge, huge opportunity. Africa has been dependent for many years on the Western India for pharmaceutical products, a huge opportunity. As Vietnam takes off in the manufacturing subsector, it can, in partnership with Uganda, help to establish pharmaceutical industries for tropical diseases, for sub-Saharan Africa, with the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, being the center of this manufacturing. Let me add one or two aspects. I was privileged yesterday to participate in many conversations. But the conversation between the government of Uganda and Vietnam's largest telecoms taught me many lessons. Lessons about, that is vital, the lessons of collaboration and partnerships in two huge markets of 700 million people. And one of the lessons, and what I saw, and why I'm standing before you, is because Equity Group can be a catalyst and a facilitator of collaboration between business in the two countries. For the Vietnamese, Equity Group is a banking group with a balance sheet of $13 billion. And so when we talked with Vitel, we said, why don't you put your capital and we support you with the debt and you establish yourself in Uganda and you partner with the government of Uganda. I want to resound the same to the two countries, that we are deeply anchored as Equity Group in Uganda. And this balance sheet of $13 billion will be at your disposal as you do trade. We are a major trade finance bank, and we can facilitate this trade, whether it's guarantees, whether it's LCs. That will be a huge value addition to this collaboration. And Minister of Trade, I'm tempted also to stay with you for the 2 weeks and see whether I can sign also a couple of, I back the trade deals that you'll be extracting with banking and financial tools, whether it's open LCs, whether it's to guarantee the LCs that Ugandans will be opening, so that we bring trust on the basis of money. Lastly, I have no doubt that the opportunity of East African community is bigger than maybe the view you have of Uganda. I want to really emphasize that Uganda is larger than its boundaries. Uganda is linked to 5 countries, and those 5 countries make East African community. And the East African community, as we emphasized, is a 300 million population market. So if we set the industries in Uganda through the border linkages, the road linkages, then we distribute in this entire market. If Vietnamese want to invest in Uganda, particularly for the extractive, the natural resources, we can process in Uganda and then ship for further completion in Vietnam for the ASEAN market of 400 million people. And that is where Equity can be well positioned, because Equity is also in the 5 countries that are linked with Uganda. We are the largest bank in Kenya, the largest bank in DRC, the second largest bank in Rwanda, and the second largest bank in South Sudan. So there is no country that you go and we don't facilitate you. And that is why I'm really honored and privileged to have accompanied the Ugandan government as they place the agenda on the table. We say we can be a catalyst. We can capacitate the 2 countries from a financing and from a trade perspective in making it happen. Let me lastly look at Uganda straight into the eyes, and particularly the ministry or the Minister for Trade. In the last 2 weeks, the German Chancellor has been in Vietnam. The Prime Minister of New Zealand has been in Vietnam. And the Ugandan President, His Excellency, Kaguta Museveni, has been in Vietnam. It shows, like the way the bees follow nectar, Vietnam is a country to strengthen. I like that we have signed bilateral arrangements, but the power of the bilateral arrangement is in implementation, is in exploitation. I'm glad you carried us, because most of them are business facilitation, trade facilitation agreements. And so we can commit to the government that we shall all do whatever it takes. As I cross, we talked of Uganda, talked about East African community, but Uganda is a founding member of the African Union, which has now signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. 1.3 billion people market. So for Vietnam, see once again the big picture. See Africa through the lenses of Uganda. See a market of 1.3 billion people. And by 2050, a 2.5 billion market. So it's a growing market with a mean age of 18 at the moment. So it's a market, if you capture, you can utilize through the lifetime of a person. So there's another 80 years to the average age that you can really get your commodities consumed by the same generation. So I wish, on behalf of the business community, to extend a warm welcome to our brothers and sisters in Vietnam. The world is made to go round by trade. Let's really link Africa and Southeast Asia through joint efforts between the two great nations. I speak to the honor of God and to our two countries, Uganda and Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our chief guest is approaching. We will now have a short interlude. In the next 5 minutes, our chief guest will be entering. So I suggest that we can have a short break, but we don't need to move far because we need to be here in the next 5 minutes. Everybody should be seated as the chief guest enters. Thank you very much.
Kính thưa quý vị, diễn đàn của chúng ta.
Ladies and gentlemen, our forum will take a break for a few minutes, inviting you to enjoy tea and coffee prepared by the organizers outside the hall. The forum will resume in 15 minutes. Thank you.
In 5 minutes.
So who starts? Abanzi wa Vietnam, abanzi wa mudwe ulikuwa in the few remarks. Tuetoa Vietnam agambe, then tuete Minister of Foreign Affairs. Yes. Okay? Okay. Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Ensure you don't come in with your water bottle. Vietnamese. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Vietnam to Uganda.
It's okay. Please take your seats. Those standing in the corridors, please give way. Our protocol teams, please help to guide the people back inside the venue. As delegates here present, our guest of honor, I am being informed, will be entering the hall anytime from now. When he walks in with his host, will be expected to raise and give them the honor, and then the program shall follow as I will announce thereafter. So our guest of honor will be coming in anytime from now. I can see our protocol is getting ready. So ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, please we'll raise and give them the honor. Thank you very much.
Ban tổ chức xin thông báo là khi
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like and gentlemen, please stand up.
To announce the arrival of our chief guest, His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. His Excellency the President is accompanied
Xin nhiệt
by
liệt chào mừng sự hiện diện của ngài Yoweri Museveni, Tổng thống nước Cộng hòa Uganda, và ngài Vũ Đức Đam, Phó Thủ tướng Chính phủ nước Cộng hòa xã hội chủ nghĩa Việt Nam.
We shall therefore now You are most welcome, Your Excellency, the President. We will now have the anthems play, and then I will be announcing the program as it shall follow. You are most welcome, Your Excellency. Anthems, please.
Sau đây sẽ là quốc ca hai nước.
Your Excellency will now take your seat as we go through the program for this event. Your Excellency, during your state visit to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, it was found prudent that a business summit be organized in honor of your visit, but most importantly, to unlock investment and trade opportunities between the two peoples of the Republic of Uganda and the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Indeed, as you open the gate, we realize that the business people will be the one to widen the cooperation between the two peoples. We thank you very much for honoring to officiate at this event. At this point in time, I want to request the person who has been heading the planning for this event, who is at the same time the Honorary Consul of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to Uganda, King Caesar Mulenga, to officially welcome you, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Vu Dam, the Deputy Prime Minister for the Social Republic of Vietnam, the Vice Executive President of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen. First, mine is appreciation. To appreciate first, join me to appreciate the visit of His Excellency, the President of Uganda, to the state of Vietnam. Can we join our hands together? Your Excellency, during your visit, you have emphasized about 4 areas of cooperation, which is 1, scientific and technology cooperation, investment as the second one, trade and services, and tourism. Those are the 4 areas you have been emphasizing, Your Excellency. I wish to mention 2 catalysts that is a movement now in the world. It's called greening the economy. The talk of today has changed. When you say, how are you? The youngsters say, they respond saying, greening the economy. Probably you can practice. Tell your friend next to you that, how are you? His response is greening what? The economy. Why greening the economy? The standards in Europe, in these bigger markets, in Asia, are now hinged on greening the economy. Greening the economy means very simple things. How do you plant the seeds? What kind of fertilizers are you using? What are the processes from harvest, after harvest, to the processing? This is very vital now in international business. Greening the economy means if you go to a hotel, these days you find like 4 or 5 towels. You are requested to use only 1 to save water. Greening the economy you must be conscious of the environment. We are trying to talk about neutral emissions to the environment. So if you are going to produce products, if you are going to produce services, you must take this into consideration. Everybody who is producing for international market and you ignore greening the economy, you may not get some customers, especially the big markets. The second thing that is coming up today's world is digitalization, digital transformation. So, Your Excellency, these 2 are catalysts of the points you have mentioned, and I hope the business community today will take note of that. Of course, Vietnam is ahead in these 2, and we are here to learn and get knowledge and take back to our country, Uganda. We want to thank all the participants, those who traveled from Uganda and those who came from Vietnam and attended the business summit. It was our first business summit here in Vietnam, but we hope in the future to organize bigger and probably based on sectors, either agriculture or technology or industry. The government of Vietnam, during your visit, Your Excellency, have emphasized exchange of delegations on high level and all the other different participants in these economies. We as a consulate in Uganda, we promise to work with you to organize those exchanges so that, as they have mentioned, business can grow between our 2 countries. I want to thank all of you. May God bless you as you go back home. Your Excellency, allow me to introduce a few people here. One from Malaysia, none other than Haji Kajimu. He led a delegation from Malaysia. We have here also a member of parliament, Honorable Nyonsaba Alex, who is on a committee of economy. We have our friend, the captain of business in banking, none other than Dr. Mwangi. We have many others, Your Excellency. Thank you so much.
Chúng tôi xin được trân
Thank you. We'd like to invite Mr. Phạm Tấn Công, the chairman of Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So here I'd like to introduce Mr. Bùi Trung Nghĩa, Vice Chairman of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give a speech on Vietnam's investment business environment. We cordially invite you.
Your Excellency, Mr. Zoweri, Your Excellency, Mr. Zoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, Mr. Vũ Đức Đam, Deputy Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Your Excellency, senior leaders of the Republic of Uganda, Excellency, leader of businesses from Uganda and Vietnam. On behalf of the leaders of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to warmly welcome the official visit of the President of the Republic of Uganda, his wife, and a delegation of senior leaders of Uganda ministries and businesses to Vietnam this time. I wish the visit of Mr. President success that can promote the investment opportunities and trade between the two countries. I would like to with you the investment environment here. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam, geographically located in the dynamic Asia-Pacific region, with a market of nearly 100 million people with increasing income and abundant labor force, with great GDP at a rate of 6 to 6.5% before COVID. Vietnam has abundant labor force with exporting great export capacity in a lot of products and sectors. The transportation infrastructure, logistics, telecommunications, and industrial parks have been completed. Currently, Vietnam has signed 15 free trade agreements with major partners in the world. The government takes drastic action to make sure the macro economy always accompanies the business community to overcome difficulties, turn challenges into opportunity, make good use of the achievements of the fourth industrial revolution, and attracts FDI inflows from restructuring supply chain and production chain globally to go forwards a sustainable development. In the past 2 years, to install the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of metrics of economy in Vietnam has been impacted to some extent. However, with the great effects and great support of the government, we actually overcome a lot of difficulties and obstacles and been back to the new normal. And the life now has mostly became back to normal as before COVID. And according to the World Bank, the GDP growth rate of Vietnam will be forecasted to be over 7%. And Vietnam's GDP in 2022 will reach about 394.5 billion USD with a growth rate of 7.2% of the World Bank. And as of May 2022, there was 11.71 billion US of FDI registered in Vietnam. This is a very good signal for the economies. Vietnam has been continued to consider a destination for multinational corporation in production and assembly to supply globally with a total investment capital reaching 31.15 billion US dollar in the period of COVID-19 adaptation and recovery development. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam and Uganda have a long-standing relationship since 1973. Regarding the trade cooperation, as of December 2021, bilateral trade turnover between Vietnam and Uganda reached 14.3 million US dollar. Regarding investment, in 2022, Uganda has 3 projects in Vietnam with a total investment capital of 90,000 US dollars. And Vietnam also has 2 projects in Uganda with a total investment of 35.5 million US dollars. Currently, the need and potential for cooperation between Vietnam is huge, especially in area where the two sides share many interests and important in economic development strategy of the two sides. And we can see that the potential for cooperation is enormous, that especially those important with economic development. And those can be mentioned such as the processing industry, manufacturing, auxiliary industry, renewable energy, high quality agriculture, food security, information technologies. And we are willing to promote the regulations and supports so that the two sides can have more rooms to invest in each other's countries and gain more benefits. Besides that, we're looking forward for more support on the investment opportunity of the two countries, and the businesses of the two countries will looking for more the opportunities for trade and potential products such as the agricultural, coffee, construction materials, medicines, equipments, and mining products in Uganda. And we can, Vietnamese businesses can find a lot of potential to invest in the mining and other sectors that Uganda have competitive advantages. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the representative body of the Vietnamese business community, business associations, and employers. And we are really willing and ready to cooperate with Ugandan authorities and commit to continue to act as a solid bridge, promoting more useful trade and investment promotion. Once again, welcome to our beautiful Vietnam country. Come to Vietnam, come to Hanoi capital, the city for peace and hospitality. We with the President, Excellency President, and the Deputy Prime Minister, great health. We wish our business forum great success today. We wish you good health and success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bui Trung Gia. Your Excellency, Mr. Bui Trung Gia is the Vice Chairman of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And the Chamber, Your Excellency, have been partnering with us in organizing this summit. I wish to inform you, Your Excellency, also that this summit began early in the morning at 8:30 in the morning, and the business enterprises and people from both countries have had in-depth engagement since morning. We are therefore honored that you have joined us this afternoon to see the progress so far made, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, our program therefore is not going to be long. Now I have the honor to invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable General Retired J.J. Odong, to make his remarks and invite you, Your Excellency, to address this summit. You're most welcome, General.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors, honorable members of parliament here present, obviously, you'll forgive me, I almost forgot that my colleagues, the ministers from Uganda, are here present. I want also to take this opportunity to recognize the Vice Chair of the Chamber of Commerce of the Socialist People's Republic of Vietnam, business people here present, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this meeting, which I must admit is the crowning His Excellency's visit to Vietnam since he came 3 days ago. I do recognize that you've been seated and working since 8 o'clock this morning, so do not get worried that I'm also going to make a speech. I will only have a small responsibility and duty here, and that is to take this opportunity to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni, to share with us his words of wisdom in as far as business and matters related to relations between Uganda and Vietnam are concerned. Your Excellency, welcome.
Do you hear me well? I can stand. The Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Ministers, the Chamber of Commerce, and the investors, rich people with money. I hope you are rich people. I don't want to waste time talking to poor people. I have got enough people, poor people at home, so now when we are talking to outsiders, the Ugandans should know that outsiders may not easily understand Africa. So you need to explain, because Africa is so rich, but also so underdeveloped. So it must be confusing to somebody who doesn't know. He may think that Africans are idiots. Why is it that Africa is so rich, but yet it's not developed? They may not tell you, but they have it in their mind. They wonder, what's wrong with these people? So you should really not assume that they will understand. Now, Africa is a very huge continent. You can get United States, China, India, the whole of Western Europe, and you put them into Africa, they will fit there. It is so huge. With a lot of resources. But also, Africa has really been underpopulated for a long time. Because as you can hear, it is 12 times the size of India, but up to recently, our population was smaller than that of India. And why was this? This was because Africa is very good for the human beings, but also very good for the enemies of the human being. It is good for both, the human being and his enemies. And who are the enemies? The mosquitoes, the tsetse flies, the bacteria. So the population of Africa has really been underpopulated for the last 4.5 million years. However, now, with modern medicine, we have been able to overcome now the enemies of man. That's why you hear that the population of Africa has now overtaken the population of India, although India is much smaller, 12 times smaller, but it has been having a bigger population all this time. But now, the African population has overtaken India, and it will be 2.5 billion in the next 30 years. So therefore, those who are planning to make money, you should get your spectacles focused properly. Now, the other problem is that Africa has been balkanized by colonialism into 54 countries. They are the same people, mainly, but cut into 54 countries. So the market at the beginning at the end of colonialism, in 1950 something, was fragmented. So Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania. So that was another issue. The issue because business means you produce, you sell. The more you sell, the better. If you produce and you don't sell, you go bankrupt. Or you don't sell enough. So that was another issue, the history. And then the history goes with the geography. A country like Uganda is very rich in everything. We have got everything. There's nothing that we don't have, except coal. Coal is the only thing we don't have. Coal. But we are landlocked. 1,000 miles from the ocean. So that's why there are for you who want to explain to outsiders who come to Uganda, you should inform them fully so that they know. Don't just come and say, oh, come, you, what. They may not believe you because they are wondering How is it a continent so rich, yet so underdeveloped? They may not tell you, but they have it in their head. Now, coming to Uganda, tissues. Coming to Uganda, the population now is 43 million. But at independence, 1962, population was small. It was only about 7 million. And the colonial economy was what we call an enclave economy. Enclave is a word for island. Island, enclave. It was you get a small island. This was typical of the colonial economies. Colonial, neo-colonial. They were enclave. You have a small island of modernity surrounded by a sea of backwardness. That's what it was. And the enclave of Uganda was enclave of the 3 C's and 3 T's. The three C's were cotton, coffee, and copper. Those were the 3 products, the 3 C's. Cotton, coffee, and copper, which the British were taking out. The 3 T's were tobacco, tea, and tourism. So this was 1962. But in 1971, a man called Idi Amin, who was a colonial sergeant, he was a sergeant in the British Army, a sergeant who looks after 30 people in the army. He took over government and became a field marshal. He made himself a field marshal. So he ruined. So there were 2 problems. First of all, this enclave economy was small. But now Idi Amin comes in and destroys it. From 1972, the small enclave, the small island of what you would call a modern economy, a money economy, let me call it money economy. Because you need to understand that one also. Money economy versus non-money economy. Much of the economy of Africa is non-money. This is foreigners, we will not understand that if you don't explain. The majority of the people like in Uganda, until recently, 68% of the people in Uganda were not in the money economy. They were in the non-money economy. That's why when you use money measurements, you may not understand. Because until 2013, 68% of the homesteads in Uganda were outside the money economy. They were in what we call subsistence economy. Economy where you feed your house. You grow your crops, you feed yourself, and you don't bother with the money. That's why, for instance, problems like the ones you have in other parts of the world, lack of food and so on, they talk about food security. In Uganda, we have no food problem, not at all. But it is food, non-money. You produce your own food. I produce my food, my neighbor produces his food, and we feed ourselves. But in terms of the money economy, I don't earn money. I eat, feed the stomach, but no money in my pocket. So because of that, I'm not able to build a better house, to do this, the things which need money. I have food, but no money. Remember, Africa is underpopulated. Population is small compared to the land area. You take a country like Congo, DRC. DRC is the same size as India in land area, much richer in terms of natural resources. But it has got a population of only 80 million people. So you can see, almost a whole subcontinent, Congo, the same size as India, but with a population of only 80 million people. So therefore, the big struggle in many parts of Africa, forget about the north, Egypt and so on, those are deserts. Those have got different problems. But the heart of Africa, the Central Africa, East Africa, this is tropical. Vietnam here is subtropical. You are 20 degrees north here. But Uganda and those countries are right on the equator. So therefore, the big battle is to go from the traditional economy of non-money to the modern economy of money. I'm telling you, Uganda are educated people. The literacy rate in Uganda is very high. It's more than almost 80%. But until recently, 68% of the people were outside the money economy. They just produce food and eat and. Of course, it creates problem for the government. Where does the government get money to buy medicine, to buy this, to buy that? So on the one hand, people are not dying because of hunger. They have food, but they don't have money, and the government doesn't have money enough. So it's a vicious cycle. So therefore, the British had been trying to introduce this money with the 3 C's and the 3 T's. That's why they had built that small island of money economy. Idi Amin comes and destroys it. From 1971 to 1986, when we come in, of the 3 C's, cotton has collapsed, copper has collapsed, only coffee was still limping on. On the 3 T's, tourism has collapsed because of insecurity. Tea, by 1971, were exporting 23 million kilograms of tea. By 1986, we were exporting only 3 million kilograms. It had collapsed. And only tobacco was limping on. So that's where we start from. 1986, when we come in. So when we come in, and there was big shortages of everything, shortages of shop, of money products. Food was there. Food was not a problem. People were eating in the villages. But the problem was sugar. There was no sugar. There was no beer. Those Ugandans like drinking beer. They like beer so much. So there was no beer, no sodas, no industrial, no consumer goods of the shops. Paraffin, all those were not there. So therefore, in the last 36 years, the Ugandan economy has been growing at the rate of 6.5% per annum from that time. But growing from a very low base, from a low base. And that growth of 6.5%, number one was, we called it minimum recovery program. Minimum recovery meant, because when there was shortage of consumer goods, shortage of soap, no soap for washing, no beer for our people, no cigarettes, no all those little things. Then the answer was magendo, which was smuggling from the neighboring countries. Then the other answer, then there was shortage of foreign currency. Foreign currency was a big shortage. So there was another black market for foreign currency known as Chibanda, where you would get a few dollars, you go at the official exchange rate, then you go and you sell at the black market. Then there was also something they called Oksamara. Oksamara was speculation. Because of shortages, you buy something here, you go and sell it many times. So therefore, the first task of the government, so in other words, the economy, which had been an enclave economy, had now a new problem of informalization. It was no longer formal. It was informal, because when you smuggle, nobody knows what you have smuggled. So the government cannot collect tax on the smuggled. So the first thing to do, part of the minimum recovery, was to reformalize the economy, to make the economy formal again, so that the beer which is drunk is from the factory, and therefore you can get tax from it. The sugar, the soap, the things now come through, no longer through smuggling, which is informal, but through formal. And this one was achieved. In Uganda, was achieved in a fairly very short time. In Uganda, you don't have any shortages of any consumer item. Don't have any shortages. On the contrary, we have got huge surplus of all those products, soap, sugar, all of them. Beer, they must be drowning in beer. All of those products, they're in plenty. And we export some to the neighboring countries. So that the minimum recovery program was and has been achieved. Then there was expansion and diversification. Like if you go to tea, I told you that tea had declined from 60 million kilograms, no, from 23 million kilograms to 3 million. As I speak today, the production of tea is 60 million kilograms. So recovery and expansion. Coffee production had gone to 2 million bags. It is now 8.4 million bags. Vietnam is 11 million bags. We are threatening to overtake you. Then you got all the products, maize. Production of maize was very low. It's now more than 5 million tons. Maize, sugar, all of them. And the new products, not new in Uganda, but new in commercialization. Like milk. Milk, I'm a milk drinker. From day one to the age of 8, I was drinking only milk. I was not eating these other things. But Uganda was not producing milk for the market. By 1986, they were importing powdered milk from Denmark and putting water and putting a stamp, Uganda Dairy Corporation. The dairy corporation was water. Otherwise, the milk was from Denmark. Powdered milk was from Denmark. But now, we are producing 3 billion liters of milk per year. This is a total, it's not a new product in Uganda, it is ancient. But in the market, it's new. In the colonial times, I would see milk tins from Switzerland, from New Zealand, from I don't know where. And yet we had cows. We had cows in Uganda, but they were not linked with the market. But now we are producing 3 billion liters, and Uganda is consuming only 800 million. So we've got a surplus of 2.2 billion liters. And we are exporting to the US some products, some proteins from milk. They crack it and get some proteins called casein. So number one, minimum recovery. To solve the problem of shortages and go back to the 1971 level, the one before Idi Amin. Number two, expand the enclave, but also diversify it. Now, number 3, transformation. Build a new quality of economy based on science. And that's where cooperation with Vietnam would be very interesting. We are now producing our own vehicles, electric vehicles. This King man was talking of green economy. We're already there. Our scientists have designed and produced electric vehicles, buses, minibuses, and small cars. Kira, they are called the car. The car is called Kira. Kira is the name of the Nile. That's what we call the Nile in our language. Call it Kira, the river Nile. So we have rejected, and nobody will waste our time with the idea of importing fully built vehicles, finished, no more. Japanese have made enough money from us. They can come and pay some compensation if they want, but if they don't, we shall manage. So we shall not import built cars anymore of certain types, the buses, the minibuses, the pickups, the smaller cars. And we also don't accept the idea of assembling, no. Because assembling is another hidden way of importing. Because you import a vehicle which is dismantled and you assemble it here and you call it made in Uganda, that one we don't accept. It must be either manufacture or fabrication. And we have 2 companies, one government, one private, which are already moving on this. And the government is supporting them with government money. Then the motorcycles, we also produce, a university is producing electric motorcycles so that we get rid of these dirty vehicles. Then vaccines. We are busy working on the vaccines, the corona one, these other vaccines, and other vaccines like the vaccines for livestock. We have got a number of products. The therapeutics, the medicines. Then the sanitizers. Those ones, the sanitizers were very easy because we were producing a lot of alcohol already. So all that was needed is to upgrade the lethality of the alcohol from 40% to 70%. And we have got a lot of sanitizers. And so on. So therefore, that's why I was interested to visit the Vietnamese center today, the one of electronics, the one of electronics and telephones and so on. That's where we need cooperation in the electronics, so that we put brains in our cars and our machines and so on. Now, regarding the other, like the electric cars, we are making the cars now, but we are still importing the batteries. We are going to stop this because we have everything. We have the lithium, the mineral. In Uganda, we have the niobium. We have the cobalt. We have all those things, the rare earth. We have all those. So what we want are partners to come and be with us to produce the batteries in Uganda so that we don't have to import that. Because those inputs make the products unnecessarily expensive. Like for instance, we are producing some medicines, some tablets, but we have been using industrial starch from India. Now that makes the tablet more expensive. And yet the tablet is, the starch is from cassava, and from. So we are solving all those gaps. So therefore, I really want to, the struggle now, as I've told you that until a few years ago, 68% of the Ugandans were outside the money economy, until about 4 years ago. Now, for the first time, 61% are in the money economy, but 39% are still outside. We are struggling to bring all of them into the money economy. Therefore, the potential is huge, really is huge. The economies of a country like Uganda is confusing because you may say GDP, they say GDP now of Uganda is about $46 billion. But this is if you use the exchange rate method. If you use the purchasing power method, it is 130 billion. Because the issue that we produce, but we don't export much. The moment we export much, then we shall get more, the Uganda shilling will strengthen. Because the economy in the Uganda shillings is growing in the Ugandan shillings. But when you translate it into dollars, because of the exchange rate, then you get a distorted picture. I think the better method to use is the PPP, power purchasing parity. Purchasing power parity. That puts the economy of Uganda at 130 billion now. And the per capita is 3,000 if you do that. If you use the other one, the exchange rate method, then you end up with 45 billion, 46, it will be about 50. So about 50 now, with per capita of 1,000 something. But it's not accurate. It is a temporary issue. The moment we solve the issue of exports, the economy is very strong. So therefore, now we don't have any problem of food, because I heard people saying that there was a problem of food because there's a war in Ukraine. What food are you talking about? You're talking about wheat. Wheat is a European food. We don't eat. I told you, you eat cassava. Stop. Then rice. Rice is what we learned from the Chinese. Chinese are the ones who brought rice in Uganda. And some of our people eat it now, and we would like to buy this from Vietnam, because we are buying from Tanzania, but sometimes they don't have enough. So we can concentrate on producing what we do best, cassava, bananas, maize, millet. I was informing the agricultural center Vietnam about the millet. Millet is one of the richest foods in life. When you see those huge Africans like that one there, those are all because of the millet. They eat so much millet. So in conclusion, I would like to invite our friends from Vietnam to come and invest in some of these areas. I can think of 3 categories or 4. Value addition on agricultural products like coffee, textiles, fruits, cereals, milk, beef, forest products. Forest products produce paper, produce all those things, produce sealing boards, niobium. Those are minerals. Fresh water products, fruits, and so on. Any of these, they are all available. B, add value to minerals to produce steel. We've got a very huge deposit of iron ore, to produce copper products for transformers, for wires, for electrical, cobalt, lithium, niobium, rare earth, phosphates, etc. All these are there. The only thing we don't have is coal. That's the only one we don't have. Then knowledge products. Knowledge products like the cars, the machines, the computers, the products of knowledge. We have educated people. We have got 30 universities, 10 government universities, and 20 private ones. So manpower is not a problem at all. You find Ugandans working for NASA. Some of the people who have been put in the American satellites in space are Ugandans because they were not handled well in the past. They work for this, what do you call it? Boeing, they are there. They are now coming back because we have improved their salaries. We had that struggle also with some other groups who didn't understand the value of the scientists. So the knowledge products, computers, electronics, and so on. Now, finally, services like hotels, tourism, all those transport, some element of transport, professional services like medical, and so on. That is category 4. So I thank you very much. You be careful because I talk a lot. And when you invite me, you do so at your own risk. So I think I should control myself. Otherwise, I can talk endlessly. Because talking is one of my old jobs. And I was talking in the 1960s against the American involvement in Vietnam. And the embassies, the 2 embassies in Dar es Salaam, the one of North Vietnam and the one of the National Liberation Front. There were two of them. I used to go there, and they would give me rings made from the American aircrafts which were being shot down. I was putting one of them on before I got my wife. That's when I So I thank you, and I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Indeed, Your Excellency, you are an old friend of Vietnam. Your Excellency, we will now have the Deputy Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to make some remarks, and thank Your Excellency for honoring this function.
Xin trân trọng cảm ơn Ngài Tổng thống. Và ngay bây giờ xin được trân trọng kính mời Ngài Vũ Đức Đam, Phó Thủ tướng
President of the Republic of Uganda. And to continue the program, I'd like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam to deliver a speech. His Excellencies, Mr. Yoweri, the President of the Republic of Uganda, dear leaders of ministers, sectors, and representatives of businesses community in Uganda and Vietnam. First of all, on behalf of the government of Vietnam, I'd like to send my warmest welcome to the President of the Republic of Uganda. Besides, I'd like to thank VCCI for hosting this event. This is a very special occasion for Vietnam and Uganda businesses to take the opportunity for further cooperation. I'm really impressed by the speech delivered by the President. The President has made a question, why Uganda hasn't developed to the fullest. And I want to make a question also, why the Vietnam businesses haven't come to Uganda, which is a very potential market. After nearly 50 years of cooperation and development, since we have become such a sincere and reliable friends, we have supported and united each other in the past few years. On the multilateral level, the two countries also coordinate and support each other to jointly protect the rights of developing countries, especially at the United Nations and the non-aligned movement. And however, the cooperation between the two countries are still limited. So this is my question to all of you. How can we promote the cooperation between the two countries? How can we promote the relationship between the people of the two countries? It is difficult, of course. First, because of the geographical problem, but I think all of this issue can be solved in the future. Vietnam always care and also congratulates on Uganda's achievements with the leadership of the president. Uganda has become a significant market in East Africa.
We share the same context.
Vietnam share the same contacts, and we develop from the poor also. We
are one of the 20 economy that ranked in the international commerce status. However, actually our economic relationship between Uganda and Vietnam is still very, very humble and limited. We're not only focusing on the social economic development, but we also focus on other two pillars.
Socialist rule of law state and socialist market economy. We want to become friends with all of the countries in the world, especially the country who actively support us in the liberation process. Dear President, ladies and gentlemen, in the context of the fast-changing and unpredictable world, especially the COVID-19 pandemic, it has transformed the world. So, I realize that it is of utmost important to have the unity and solidarity of countries together with the efforts of self-reliance in each economy. We appreciate the effort of the senior leaders of Uganda and Vietnam that we share the strategy and approaches to make our cooperation come true in the future. We also need to join hands in lots of aspects.
With a win-win situation and win-win purposes, focusing on the competitive advantages of the two sides, I want to emphasize that those areas are very difficult one, a very tough one, how to surpass. But if it is not difficult, so why can't we make it so far? And we
will focus on our strength, Uganda and Vietnam's strength. We will try to coordinate not only in the two countries, but also coordinate with other countries in the region. And the ministries and also the leaders of the two countries need to create the favorable environment for the businesses to develop. VCCI, together with the Uganda Investment Authority, need to join hands to cooperate together. The government will make sure that we are here to ensure your rights. We are here to support you. I believe that the visit of His Excellencies, the President of the Republic of Uganda, will mark a milestone in our friendship. I hope that the cooperation between the two countries will come to the next level. Thank you so much. Thank you. Xin cảm ơn ngài Phó Thủ tướng.
There is what I forgot, what I left halfway. I mentioned to you, do you hear me? Yes. I mentioned to you that one of the obstacles of business in Africa has been the political fragmentation, the market. Uganda, Kenya. Now, fortunately, the African leaders realized this. 20 years after independence, in 1980, by that time we were still not in the government, but the leaders realized that this was a big mistake. So they had a meeting in Lagos, Nigeria, and started what they called the Lagos Plan of Action, which meant the economic integration of Africa into one market. They started that time, they started with the 4 regional blocks, south, east, north, west, like that. Now, we have now like 3 levels of integration. So once you invest in Uganda, you have the market of Uganda, 43 million people. You have got the market of East Africa, 7 countries of East Africa. That is Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, DRC, and South Sudan. That's 300 million people. And then you have the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area of the whole of Africa. It's not perfect yet. The roads are not there and so on, but it is on the paper. It's now agreed that there is one market for the whole of Africa, the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. So I thought I should do, that problem now is being addressed, the one of market. So once you invest in Uganda, you can sell in Uganda, you sell in East Africa, you sell in Africa, where possible. But then there are also third-party markets. The European Union, the United States of America, China. We have agreements with all those countries. So I thought I should do. I did not. I typed it and I left it unfinished.
Thank you, Excellency, for that clarification. Your Excellency, among us, there was the chairman of Zang Group. Please stand up for recognition from Kapeka.
Oh, this is the Mugaga.
Yes, this is one of the richest men we have in Uganda.
Now, I would like to introduce you to my Vietnamese friends. This man is a Chinese. Mm. But he has got a local name, Mugaga, meaning rich one, the rich one. So he has got a number of industrial parks. How many? 3? Huh? He has got an industrial park with 20 factories.
So that is one of the richest men we have, a Chinese national, but now a Ugandan called Mugaga, and his Chinese name is Zhang Hao. You are welcome and thank you for investing in Uganda. Your Excellency, this afternoon also, you talked of electronics. While you were at your residence, I had an opportunity to fix an appointment in Vitel. Vitel is a defense company of the Social Republic of Vietnam. It has very many branches. It's making electronics. It has A to Z of telecom equipment. And I had a chance to go there with the Honorable Matia Kasaija and the Honorable Chris Waryomunsi. They will brief you, Your Excellency, what we have found and a way forward, especially on the government telecom. Let me have this opportunity also, Your Excellency. The Vietnamese have requested me to introduce the ministers who are around so that they know them. So let me start with our Minister of Finance, Honorable Matia Kasaija. This is the Minister of Finance. When you come to Uganda, any issues related to taxation, this is the gentleman who will be leading that. And Your Excellency, you heard the government and many businessmen are asking that we draft the MOU on double taxation and the protection of investment. He's already aware about that. We have another minister here, Your Excellency, Honorable J.J. Odong, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And as you heard yesterday, when you are dealing with another country, you can't avoid him. This is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And he's been very vital, especially in processing the visas for all the people who wanted to travel here to Hanoi. Your Excellency, we have also our Minister, Honorable Waryomunsi for ICT, and whom you have declared Mr. Asia because of his height. Please. He has won the prize without a contest. He is Mr. Asia now. Your Excellency, we also have here Honorable Ntabazi, who is a Minister for State for Trade. She's been vital in organizing this summit. Your Excellency, we have your senior minister here, who's been in government for over 20 years, and the State for International Affairs, Honorable Kero Oriem. He's also been vital supporting this summit. There are other government officials who are here. There is the ambassador of Uganda to, of course, Vietnam, and looking after 9 countries, none other than Honorable Betty Rigombe. Your daughter is there. There are many others. Please stand up for recognition. All the government officials who came from Uganda, please stand up for recognition. There is one from Export Promotion Board. There are some, there is a UCDA Managing Director, Emmanuel Yamuremye, who has also a stall. There is the managing director of National Housing Engineer. And he has told us there is, for the purposes of Vietnamese who want to invest in Uganda, we have a shortage of 7 million houses. So those in construction, you see there is a big opportunity. There are very many others, Your Excellency. We have also a PS for the Minister of Trade. Dr. Nassari, please stand up for recognition. As you were on our visit, Your Excellency, you saw the PS for ICT. I'm not seeing her here. Also, actually, we had also the Minister of Agriculture, but he didn't make it because he's traveling back to Uganda tonight. So the Vietnamese would wish to know the government officials that they are supposed to deal with. Some of them are those. We have also legal counsels, someone representing the lawyers in Uganda, Alex from Otis Africa. We came with some lawyers in case some agreements must take place. Your Excellency, in our planning, we had also, I want again to talk about Dr. Mwangi. Dr. Mwangi, Your Excellency, you stand up, Dr. Mwangi. Dr. Mwangi, we are creating a formula whereby if a Vietnamese comes to Uganda, there is a tripartite partnership. If you want money, you find it ready. We are negotiating with Equity Bank, which is a 13 billion bank in the whole of East Africa. And we are thinking they can finance initial investments for all the Vietnamese that are wishing to invest in Uganda. Of course, we are looking at the investment minister, as you always do, to give them land and incentives. That one is also, of course, for purposes of Vietnam. They must know that through Your Excellency, you have allowed the investors some, facilitators like land. You find utilities, water, and electricity in industrial parks, and you are ready to go to set up your investment. We're also looking at, of course, the government of Vietnam for transfer of technology, as you put it, and knowledge, of course, improving our produce and other things. You said a lot of things here, but let me remind the Vietnamese that Ugandans, 78%, as he said, 80% are Ugandans are below the age of 30, 70-80%. That's a huge market, especially for ICT. The younger ones are very good now using phones to market their products, to market whatever they are developing. So, Your Excellency, thank you again for gracing this occasion. We are indeed grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, I'd like to invite Mr. Phạm Tấn Công to deliver a speech.
President of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give a farewell remarks, and then we close the function.
Chủ tịch Phòng Thương mại và Công nghiệp Việt Nam lên phát biểu tiếp thu ý kiến chỉ đạo của hai. Your Excellency, Mr. Zoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency, Mr. Vũ Đức Đam, Deputy Prime Minister of the Social Republic of Vietnam. Your Excellencies, Senior Leader of the Republic of Uganda, Excellency Leader of Businesses from Uganda and Vietnam, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of Vietnamese business community, please allow me to express my deep thanks to His Excellency Zoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, and Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam for spending the time to attend and give instruction to the two chambers of commerce as well as the business community of the two sides to have more practical ideas to promote two-way and investment relation in the coming time. The presence of the President of the Republic of Uganda and the Deputy Prime Minister are the best demonstration of the interest that the senior leaders of the two countries give the Vietnamese and Ugandan business communities. I would also like to welcome and thank you all for attending the Vietnam-Uganda Business Forum today. Thank you for the ministries and government promotion agencies of the two countries who worked closely with us to organize this important event. This morning in Marriott Hotel, the businesses of the two countries had a chance to interact and discuss with each other on the investment opportunity. And this afternoon, it is our great honor to welcome Mr. President of Uganda and Deputy Prime Minister of Vietnam, and have you two here share about the heroic history of the two countries and the rich nature of the two countries, especially in Uganda, and the potential of Uganda in the economic development. And we believe in the people of Uganda and the government of Uganda. And I really believe that the working day and the visit of the delegation of Uganda to Vietnam will open a new door for promoting the investment opportunities. So we believe that the room for the cooperation and of investment for the two countries is huge.
The cooperation between Vietnam and Uganda will increasingly develop. His Excellencies, Mr. President, and Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam.
VCCI is a national organization representing the business community in Vietnam, leading in building law and regulations and supporting enterprises in their businesses, including Uganda enterprises. And we commit that and ensure that we will always willing and ready in supporting businesses to
and enhance our relationship between Vietnam and Uganda. All the businesses from Vietnam and Uganda need to join hands. And if you need any support, please contact VCCI.
Finally, once again, thank you so much, Mr. President of Uganda and the Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam joining this forum and give the instructions on behalf of VCCI. We would like to take all the directives and we will commit to work with all the ministers and all the senior leaders of the two countries, as well as the business community of the two countries,
to create more business forum and to better support Vietnam and Ugandan businesses in the future. And we believe that our businesses will come and will enter Uganda business market in the nearest future.
So that we can answer the question that why Uganda has so many potential but still have humble economic, and we wish that we can answer that question, and we will support each other to have a win-win situation and better success in the coming time. Once again, we wish for the health of the President of Uganda and the Deputy Prime Minister of Vietnam. We wish Vietnamese and Ugandan businesses success. We wish you good health and thank you.
And then departure shall be in reverse order. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. We don't take you for granted. We will expect to meet you in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Kính thưa quý vị, diễn đàn của chúng ta hôm nay đã diễn ra thành công tốt.
Đến thăm cũng như là đến làm việc tại Uganda. Once again, we'd like to express our sincere thanks to the delegates who took time to attend the forum today. We'd like to express our sincere thanks to all the delegates who attend the forum today. Thank you.